So, Cheryl, tell us a little bit about some of what your key transformations have been over the years that the combination of coaching and NB allowed you to achieve.
Well, as you were talking about being coached, I was thinking about I don't like being told what to do. It's an automatic, and that made it difficult to coach me. And so the fact that the natural bioenergetics just brought up all the subconscious triggers that were causing me to resist, even though I knew the advice I was given was good, I would just dig my heels in automatically just because I was so used to being told what to do by so many other people. And what natural bioenergetics did was it allowed me to claim myself. It's interesting. We call this reclaim yourself. And in some ways, I felt like I didn't have the right to take up space on the planet. I was just here to serve and prop up everybody else, but my opinions, my desires, my preferences really had no place. And when you have that as a subconscious driver, you can do all the coaching in the world, but you will negate it. And so natural bioenergetics brought that stuff all up to light, exposed the roots of it, but then it neutralized the triggers so that when I was in those situations, I could actually listen from a point of neutrality and decide whether or not I wanted to go through with something rather than just react. So that was one of the biggest gains for me. And I think the accelerated growth and maturity and moving from a place of reactivity to being able to respond in a thoughtful way was huge. Not just for me, but for my kids as well. So
I think that's such a huge thing, yeah. And the whole concept of neutrality was certainly not something I grew up being aware of. And so learning that and the whole concept of being able to just not have buttons to push. I grew up with lots of buttons being pushed. I grew up in a family with a alcoholic, not always very nice family situation. And there was a great deal of what I now recognize was trauma in that situation. And I tended to simply withdraw into me and go away. And, you know, I could be in my own little world and ignore it all. But over the years, that took its toll. That really had an impact on who I was and what I thought I could be and what I thought I could do.
Yeah.
And to be able to just make all those buttons disappear. And when people did exactly the same thing, I could go, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. It was done. And I didn't have to blow up or respond or go and hide or, you know, any of the other coping mechanisms that I used for many, many years. And it made a huge difference in the family because when I reacted differently, that meant my kids could react differently. When I wasn't as prickly, they could respond with less prickly. And just the interaction of fixing myself fixed so many things in my family. And it allowed us a transformation in the way our family dynamics work that was amazing. And having come from a Christian background where we were a good Christian family, where we, you know, did all the right things, but we didn't learn the skills that we needed to really allow ourselves to be us. And I think the other transformation that for me was so important is that coming into kind of moving back to Canada and coming into learning some of this stuff in a new way, I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I understood what my desires and goals were. And as I worked on myself, as I did the energy medicine, as I did the coaching, as I progressed through, you know, layers and layers of crap and trauma and stuff that was all there, I discovered that what I thought I want wasn't what I wanted at all. And it allowed me to just make this gentle shift into something that was much more appropriate to me. And that's one of the transformations that I find to be, you know, the most amazing and the most life affirming is that now I feel like my desires and my heart and my mind are all working on the same thing. Whereas before there's kind of like all this, there's always a fight between, do I follow my heart? Do I follow my brain? Do I follow my, you know, what I think I'm supposed to be, because that's what culturally and spiritually I was told I should be. and now it has come around into a unified, cohesive whole, which
Yeah.
is just a very different place for me. And so, yeah, it's taken a few years, but we've learned a lot in the process, and that allows
Yeah.
us to shortcut the process for other people, for people that we work with, because we've learned a lot of the things the hard way. So now we can show you the easy way. And the easy way is you combine coaching with natural bioenergetics. So
Yes.
we talk about having the energy medicine sessions or the energy balance sessions. That's what we're talking about, is doing that interior subconscious work that just makes the conscious work flow and be so much easier and so much simpler to work with. So that's why I love this combination. Is there something else, Cheryl, that makes us different from all the other coaches?
Well, definitely the energy medicine component or the energy therapy component is what probably sets us apart from other people. You talked about earlier how hard it is to make changes and you know what, if you ask people, what do you need to do in order to be healthy? They can tell you: drink water, eat properly, exercise, practice good mental hygiene and stuff like that. We all know what the answer is, but actually walking it out can be difficult. And trying to force yourself into changes can be really, really hard. And I think the huge takeaway that I got personally from doing energy therapy was that it just made it so much easier to transition. And it dealt with not just my mental and psychological and emotional stuff, it also smoothed the physical transition as well. So my period of time where I had foggy brain and Linda, something's going on here. Oh, shoot. Okay.
You're looking fine on this end.
Okay. Sorry. Something popped up on my screen. I couldn't see you. Okay.
You were saying the period when you were going through foggy brain.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when I was going through my shift into menopause and stuff, the foggy brain, the hot flushes, the being awake at all hours of the night, that period of time was actually quite short, just because we did things with the energy therapy that helped to just smooth that transition that your body goes through. Most people don't realize that it's actually a developmental stage. And one of the reasons that we don't know so much about it is that historically, women didn't really live as long as they're living now. And so the amount of women going through it and being able to write about menopause and coming out the other side, there isn't really a lot of historical data on that. But now that we are living longer and we're starting to experience that, we now have sort of a way of gauging it. And I was really encouraged to find out when I came out the other side that I had a renewed interest in life. I was able to go off into other directions that I found, well, I love the work that I'm doing now. I find it very satisfying, and I'm making a positive contribution to my family and to society and the people that I work with. So, that's something to look forward to, and it's not something that we hear too much about. And the other thing,
one of the big things is that we don't have much information about it, because up until, historically speaking, relatively recently, all of the doctors were men.
yes,
To them, it was just, didn't matter. And now that we're having more and more women doctors move up through the system and come into, research positions and higher up positions, suddenly there's interest being taken in it, and there is a significant amount of more information available. But I also want to say that it's not just menopause that can cause those kinds of symptoms. I don't think I ever had a symptom of menopause, to tell you the honest truth. It never even fizzled. I don't think I ever had a hot flash that I remember. It simply wasn't an issue to me. But trauma caused all of those same symptoms.
yes,
And so it doesn't matter how you got the symptoms. The point is there's a way to deal with them. And there's things that can be done to correct them. And even if you're, in your 40s and facing, maybe your kids are becoming much more independent or leaving home or going off to school or whatever. And you're nowhere close to menopause, but you're feeling a lot of these same feelings. So many women get to sort of that stage where they spent 15, 20, 25, or 30 years focusing on their family and their kids and maybe homeschooling or highly involved in their kids' schooling and focusing on their families. And suddenly their families grow up and go away and start their own families. And it's like, well, who am I now? What do I do? Nobody needs me. And to be able to rebuild your own interior view of yourself and what you're worth and what you can do and what value you bring to society and to yourself and to your family in a different way with an adult relationship to them. All of those are things that this program will help you work through. So yes, menopause is a huge one for many people, but I think there's also many other aspects of where we're going and what we're doing that really matter. And the transformation that can happen in your life when you recognize that your own value and your own view of yourself from the inside is so controlled by your subconscious programming, and that can be changed easily. It doesn't take a huge amount of work to change that. You don't have to go through hypnosis. You don't have to go through, months of trying to build new habits that are supposed to start in 21 days, and we get to 21 days and you start all over and do another 21 days, and 6 months later you're still trying to force yourself into this habit. Well, that's just made so much more simple by being able to do the energy work together. And so the transformations can happen on many levels in many places, and that's what really motivates me to work with this. And we've seen so much of it in the groups that we're already running. We've been running small groups of this over the last couple of years and seen some amazing transformations there. And so now we're opening the program up to become a much more open to the public kind of program, rather than inviting our own clients and friends and sort of people to do all the test driving for us, which we've done over a couple of years now. And now we're ready to make it available to everybody, because there's so much need. There's so many women that we talk to, that we see. You see it in the Facebook groups all over the place, the things that are going on for women, from 40 up. It's horrendous, actually. And to be able to reach out in a program that says, hey, there's a way for you to reclaim, to get hold of, to take control of your own life again, where you may have spent most of your life doing what other people expected you to do, doing what other people wanted you to do, maybe doing it completely lovingly and wholeheartedly and wanting to do it, but now that's disappeared because they've grown up and gone. And who are you? You're no longer the servant of the family. Who are you? What can you be? And that's where we want to help you reclaim your life, reclaim your direction, and move into what you want to be.